So for the remainder of this tutorial, we're going to be working with a Twitter conversation, a Twitter chat, and be building a Twitter network that is pulled from the NCED hashtag. And if those of you are not familiar with the NCED hashtag, this is a ongoing conversation typically between educators throughout North Carolina. This file, this NodeXL Twitter file, is going to be in the course Moodle, and if you go ahead and open up that file, it's going to open up the NodeXL file with this Twitter data in it. In just a second, I'm also going to be walking you through how to pull this data if you want to pull it yourself. So when we go ahead and open up this file, you're going to see that we have our edge list, just like I mentioned before. In this case, we have who is mentioning or replying to someone else within the NCED chat. So all these people are using that NCED hashtag, and these are conversations or discussions that are happening between these two people. So for example, right here we have Guy Smith, and he is replying to Lady Liberty 1885. His response is why, and you can see him down here. This is who he's responding to, so she's going to be the recipient of the reply. You may have come across this in some of your readings, but networks can be either directed or undirected. So in this case, this is a directed network because this response is going towards this person, but she doesn't necessarily have to respond back. Unlike Facebook friends, where the friendship relationship is mutual, you can't be friends with someone on Facebook and not have them be friends with you. So what we've done is we have this data, we've opened up the file, and if you click over here really quick, show graph, you're going to be able to see a quick and dirty snapshot of the NCED Twitter network. And this is for the last 1,000 tweets. So this is not all of NCED. This is just for the last 1,000 tweets, which I think is just over the past couple of days. All right, so now for those of you who are brave and you have a Twitter account or would like to set up a Twitter account and would like to pull this network yourself, I'm going to show you how to import that within NodeXL. So let's go ahead and minimize this. We are going to open up a new NodeXL worksheet. You can actually go to your programs, and you can go down to NodeXL, and we are going to open up the NodeXL template. And now we have a new blank NodeXL template. There we go. Let me arrange this really quick. Ooh, stretch this out. There we go. All right, excellent. So now I have a blank template. You're going to see when you open up NodeXL, there's a brand new tab. This is the NodeXL tab, and this is going to have all the functions of NodeXL. We're going to be walking through this tutorial, walking through each of these one by one. We're going to start with data, and then we're going to move on to some of these others. So let's go ahead, and we are going to import data. So when we click on import, we're going to have a ton of options. You have options to import from a UCINet file. This is a very popular network analysis program. I've used this before. PIAC is another very popular one. I've actually never used that one. I have a colleague that uses that though. You can open from just an open matrix that you've created yourself. So you have all the users down one side and all the users across the top, and you've created your own matrix. Or you can open from an Excel workbook too. In this case, though, we are going to be importing from a Twitter search network. So when you go to import, click down from Twitter search network, and we are going to be searching for that NCED hashtag. All right, so I have already set up a Twitter account. But if you have a Twitter account or just created a Twitter account and you want to import data from NodeXL, if this is your first time, you're going to click on I have a Twitter account, but I've not yet authorized NodeXL to use my account. If you click on that, it's going to take you to authorization, so you can allow NodeXL to use your Twitter account to pull the data. I have a Twitter account already, and I've already authorized NodeXL, so I'm going to choose that option. Before I click OK or do anything though, I want to tell it what I want to search for. So I am going to be searching for the NCED hashtag. I want all the replies, I want all the mentions, I want all the tweets, even if they're not responding to anybody. So these are going to be people who are using the NCED hashtag. They're not replying to someone. They're not mentioning someone in a tweet. They might just be sharing for the NCED audience. And when they actually show up in the edge list, they're going to show up with their name here and their name there. So it's a relationship just to themselves. This is called a self loop within network analysis. So it's actually not directed at anybody, it's just sent out there to themselves. So we're going to include tweets that is not a reply or mention, plus also the replies and mentions. We're not going to do the files relationship because that's going to pull in a ton of people that aren't even related to the NCED chat. Let's get the last 1,000 tweets. You can do more or less if you want to. And we're also going to add a tweet column to the Edges worksheet. So this is going to have the actual content of the tweet that they tweeted. And we're also going to add statistics columns for the Vertices worksheet. So this is that node worksheet or the attribute list. So this is going to be everybody who's in the network, and it's going to have some of their Twitter stats, like how many people follow them, let's see, and some of the other things. You'll see that in just a second. So again, we are searching for the hashtag NCED. Replies to, mentions, tweets that aren't in response to anybody or directed towards anybody. They're just thrown out there. And then we're going to add our tweet column so we know the actual content of the tweet. And we're going to add the user's statistics, their Twitter statistics. So we're going to click OK. And it's going to start pulling that data. It's actually pretty fast, even though I have 1,000 tweets. There we go. It is going to ask me to speed this up if it wants to turn off text wrapping. So instead of the column being wrapped around the text, it's just going to be contain the text. You're going to want to click yes. Do you want to continue the import? Yes. And you can click to never display that again. I just left that open so you guys would see that because you're likely to see that when you try this. And there we go. So now we have our edge list. These are all the people who participated in the NCED hashtag chat. We have information about these relationships. So this person replied to, actually they mentioned this person in a tweet. So it's directed at that person. They mentioned that person. Here's the actual time of that tweet. There's the content of the tweet itself. If any URLs were included, those are going to be added as well. If any domains, here we have bit.ly was included, Ali, these are URL shorteners. And then it's going to include other hashtags that were included in that tweet as well. So edtech hashtag was used, makered hashtag was used. It's going to have the actual tweet date. All right. Let's see. I don't know what that is. That's interesting. And then it's going to have the Twitter page for the tweet. So it's going to have all this information about the actual relationships themselves, and we would call these edge attributes. So these are all the attributes of the edge. Great, so now we've pulled that in. Let's go to our Vertices worksheet. So now we're on the Vertices worksheet, and these are all the users that are actually in the network. So as you can see, we have how many people participated in the last 1,000 tweets. Oh, I actually think that is my former principal in Hope County, Miss Calder. So it looks like we have 463 people participated in the last 1,000 tweets with the NCED hashtag. Let's go ahead and show what that looks like really quick. So there we go. We have imported this data. We can also export this data. So if we wanted to take this and turn it into a matrix like I showed you before, we can turn this into a matrix workbook. Let's actually click that so you can see what it looks like. There we go. So now you can see it looks like a matrix. All right. So that's what you can see. It's a very sparse matrix. Look at all the zeros here. So it's not a very dense network. It's a very sparse network. I think one of you mentioned in the discussion forums about weak ties. There are a lot of weak ties here. These numbers can be an indicator of the strength of the relationship. So someone who's responded to someone else 11 times, oh, that's actually someone who has just thrown stuff out there and and did not get a response, a particular response. Same thing here. That's interesting. So yeah, lots of weak ties here. I don't see a lot of strong ties. Let's see. Oh, this is a very sparse network is what this would be called. So let's go back to our graph here. All right. So, whoops, did I skip ahead? There we go. Great. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so now we have gone ahead and we have imported our Twitter network. We have our edge list and we have our vertices all in place. One last thing that we are going to want to do, and we have not done it yet. Oh, you know what? That's great. It already did it. So it's going to tell you these relationships between these people. Here we go. So this person and this person, they have corresponded with each other, the relationships. There are two replies or mentions to each other. And they're actually going to show up over here so you can see where they are in the network. One of these people is closer to the center of this network, and one of them is just on the periphery of this network. So that gives you a little idea of how we import data. In this case, we are importing a Twitter network. We've imported the edges, the relationships between individuals, and in this case, the relationship is a mention or a reply. And we've also pulled in all of their individual information, so all of their individual attributes, and there they are actually showing up here. Wow, one of these people has a lot of followers. I wonder if it's that person. Yep, the one that's closer to the center of the network. So there we go. So that is importing data. So we've now talked about this data area of the NodeXL ribbon.